delighted to introduce my good friend Al Hill, who is the Senior Vice President and General Manager for North America and President of Canada, Mettler Toledo. Al, I first met Al when in the cafeteria at New Albany High School, where we were going to church. And so at All Saints Episcopal Church, and then we worked together on the capital campaign, and now we're in a building, so it's very exciting for us. But Al leads a team of over 1,000 people across North America, responsible for sales, channel management, marketing, field service, and customer support. Al, you're going to have to tell us what channel management is, because I don't. It's a term that I'm not familiar with. But Al has an MBA from NYU, the Baruch College of Business, and a Bachelor of Science from Industrial Engineering at the University of Alabama. Al is a serious Bama fan. It's even on his license plate. So, and he does go to the various games in the fall in Alabama, and we actually I talked to him about this year when Bama was not in the championship, and Al told me that he was really wanting the O's to win. And if you don't remember who the O's are, well, obviously it's Ohio State and Oklahoma. And I said, why do you want don't want somebody from the SEC to win? He said, well, we compete for the same talent. 80% of our talent, people that we compete with, are LSU and Clemson. And so, that made a lot of sense, but I'm glad you at least temporarily became a fan for Ohio State. But Al is his wife Laura and his children Piper and Jackson. Piper is at Oberlin and Jackson at Ohio State. Both are very talented musicians and great people. So Al, come on up and tell us about Owen scoring.
Good afternoon. It's great to be here. Maybe I'll ask quickly, who's heard of Mettler Toledo before? Who's heard of us beyond the fact that we have that building up by Polaris? Well, hey, that's great. I'm going to maybe give you a little bit more about the company. Bill told you about me already. But Mettler Toledo, we just announced earnings last week, so I haven't updated all of these slides with all of those numbers yet, but we're a little bit over $3 billion as a company now worldwide, probably closer to 17,000 than 16,000 employees globally at this time. And we're really a manufacturer of precision measurement equipment, and then we provide the services and software to help our customers take advantage of that around the world. And we're actually directly present in a little over 40 countries, and then we've had long-term distributor relationships. So Bill, that's channel management, distributors and dealers and other third parties that sell on our behalf. And actually probably over 100 countries at this time. And many of those relationships are in their second or third generation of family ownership. So we built our company really around a series of different types of measures that are used by our customers kind of throughout their value chain. But at the end of the day, regardless of what we do, and I'll talk a little bit more briefly about some of the things that we do, we're really offering a core set of values to our customers in all cases. We're helping them either go faster to streamline things. We're helping them become more efficient, to eliminate waste. We're helping them to be more productive, whether it be through enabling their employees or through automation. And then ultimately, there's a lot of regulation in the measurement industry, both required for exchange of goods in a legal for trade fashion, or regulation from the FDA inside food and pharmaceutical manufacturing example. And really, our customers get that compliance almost for free from us as we go about doing things the way we do, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. But all of you in your own businesses are looking at data and key performance indicators all the time. All of our equipment is used to measure things that are about our customers' processes, either in R&D and manufacturing, how they're handling their finished goods in some way or another. And so with our measurement equipment, much like maybe the products that you sell in your own businesses, they have certain attributes. And so part of the value add we offer our customers is that the measurement themselves, we can provide better precision, better accuracy, better repeatability. So when you use one of our devices to measure something about your business and you see a deviation, you can react to that deviation to go make your business better, hopefully avoid a problem or take advantage of an opportunity without necessarily having to wonder whether is it just some quirk within the measurement equipment. And especially in weighing throughout the dawn of time, a very, very old profession, weighing, the regulations are actually fairly straightforward and haven't become more stringent in decades. We have literally hundreds of people that can compete with us in weighing. And the differential we add there is instead of having a process control limit this wide, we can give you something that's a lot tighter. And if you can remember even high school plotting areas under curves or in college, if we can eliminate that area under the curve and give you a tighter distribution of results, all that area under the curve that you eliminate is noise, chaos, potential error, inconsistency. So that's really, at the end of the day, our core value add. So we help people in R&D. Usually the big value add in what we do up front in R&D, especially in pharmaceutical chemical companies, is help them go faster. We have ways of helping them retain data, help make sure that their data is not tampered with, and they can demonstrate to the FDA it's tamper-proof. They can use smaller sample sizes as they're working through what they do because of the accuracy of our microbalances. So a microbalance measures a millionth of a gram. And then I used to run our heavy capacity weighing business that measures trucks and trains and things like that. And so we go 7 digits to the other side of the decimal. So in either case, here in the R&D side, we're helping them with processes. Our automated chemistry helps them actually automate some of the processes and reactions that they're looking when they're trying to discover new molecules to create new drugs. And then in QA, in the quality assurance area of a manufacturing or pharmaceutical production or in chemical plants, samples are taken all the time to validate, are we making what we thought we were made? Is it still have the same properties? And again, our equipment's used in a variety of quality assurance labs around the world to help ensure that product is consistent, safe, and meeting the specs that people are promising their customers. As we move more into manufacturing, so again, in more process-controlled environments, petrochem, chemical, semiconductor, we have a lot of devices that can measure properties of things going through a pipe in real time, pH, oxygen content, et cetera. That's our process analytics group. Then more discrete manufacturing areas, we have a whole plethora of industrial weighing equipment that's used in formulation, mixing, batching, piece counting, validating, packaging, et cetera. And then at the end of the line, automated equipment that can check, for instance, I've been to a big Campbell soup plant in Texas where they make paste pecani sauce, and the jar is supposed to be 8 ounces. Well, they can be fined by the FDA and the Departments of Commerce and Taxation in states if they ship an 8-ounce bottle and it's only 7.9 ounces. But to make sure that it's always over 8, you don't want to make it 8.5 or you're giving away a lot of products. So trying to help make sure that that's tight enough in medicine plants like where children's Tylenol is made. This equipment helps validate that the instructions are actually in the box as well as the medicine. And then we have equipment that can detect bone, saw blades, metal, and some bacterial contamination in food. So you can imagine in the last decade, that's been a fairly high growth business. And then at the back end of the area in supply chain and logistics, we make dimensioning equipment and weighing equipment. We weigh trucks and trains. Some of you may have seen weigh stations on the side of the highway. I get asked about that all the time when I talk about that part of our business. That's maybe 5% of our demand. There's a truck scale in the ground at almost every industrial thing you drive past, especially concrete, cement, but bulk food, Budweiser here in town, they weigh to make sure that their trucks are legal to be on the road, but they also check weigh with that weight to make sure that their employees haven't five-finger discounted some of the product off the truck at the back. And they use it for an inventory regulation at that point. I guess maybe you need more than 5 fingers to take a 12-pack out, but, so it's really used in a lot of different places, but also these dimension equipment, you've probably noticed some changes in how you get billed when you ship a parcel. Much more involved in dimensioning because most of what we ship in this era of Amazon and all of us buying things online, the weight is far less important than the size. The size costs FedEx and UPS and even Prime a lot more money in the back of the truck than the weight because you're mostly shipping air. And so we make a lot of dimension equipment that helps these freight companies. They can have a pallet on the front of a fork truck and in real time drive through, get an accurate dimension, and then charge a density-based weight to their customers on that equipment. So that's another big growing part of our business. And then where you may have seen us the most in public is in grocery stores and retail chains. Kroger is one of our largest customers, fully committed, fully partnered with Mettler Toledo in everything that they do. So you'll see us in the deli, in the bakery, in the produce aisle. But what you may not see is we're also behind the scenes in the equivalent of their butcher shop in the back of the store, helping them, wrap and label all the meat that you see in the meat area. So all of that is inventory management, but here our primary value add is it's heavily IT based. So we have a fairly unsophisticated piece of weighing equipment along with a pretty sophisticated computer that's the human interface for their employees. It provides their training, it does all of their inventory tracking, but they're pushing prices down real time, things that need to be on the label both for regulation, safety, and maybe to recommend that if you bought chicken that you go buy barbecue sauce in aisle 7 or whatever. So that's actually heavy integration, heavy data management, and really we've leveraged a lot of that learning from our retail customers back into maybe our industrial customer base, for example, that generally automates a little bit slower. So that's a real high view of what we do. We serve just a ubiquitous list of people. And what's really nice about Mettler Toledo, we're really fully global. So no one country, no one customer represents really more than 1 or 2% of what we do. So we're between the different businesses we're in, the different geographies we're in, and the different customer segments we serve, we have kind of a natural hedge. I mean, in 2009, we felt it like everyone. But in other years, the chemical industry might be soft, but pharmaceuticals hot. Asia might be hot and the West a little bit slower, but it's been a nice natural hedge. Makes it look like we have nice, steady, boring performance. But it's usually really exciting for all of us in our individual spaces, but works out well for the franchise. And that's led to a really consistent 20-year, growth of about 6%. I think we grew a little over 5% in 2019. And at the same time have grown earnings per share consistently over 15% during that time. So for those of you that were driving by Polaris way back in 2000 when I moved to town, about $40 a share. And I don't know, I haven't looked today, but almost 800 today. So that's, again, not that many people have heard of us, but I mean, when you keep putting, 6% growth on top of 10% profit growth on top of 15% earnings growth year after year after year, it adds up. We've grown our space. I think we were about 8,000 employees when I joined, so we've doubled our employee base over that time. And really spent a lot of that in having people in the front end, in the field, and sales and service is a big component of our business as well. So when I look at Mettler Toledo really compared to our competition, what's interesting, and I just told you about a bunch of our different kind of applications, in each of those slides, if I showed you our competitors, you would never have seen a name repeat. So we're either number 1 or number 2 in almost everything that we do, but the people that we compete with, it's a certain group of people when we talk about weighing in a laboratory. It's a different group of people almost by instrument when we talk about titration or automated chemistry or density and refractometry or spectrometry or any of those things we do in the laboratory. And in the industrial space, it's a whole large group of people that we compete against. In the retail space, it's a different set of names. In the dimensioning space, it's a different set of names. So one of our good value adds is that we can bring all that innovation in a package to key accounts around the world and give them consistency. But we really, first and foremost, are not in a space, we don't do it if we don't think that we can do it better than someone else. So even in some places where we've introduced a product maybe a lot later than other people, we think we brought a better way to do it, and it boils down to those same core things I mentioned before. We think we can give you a more accurate and repeatable way to get this result out of this type of measurement. And here's what that means to you in terms of either you being able to be faster, smarter, more efficient, safer, whatever those attributes are. And we build those around the measurement, but then also the human. In all of our customer spaces, the number one source of error in their operation is the operator. It's the person in the operation. So we spend a lot of time trying to engineer our human interfaces and the interaction with both service technicians as well as operators so that they have the tools that they need, that we have guided workflows as opposed to them having to know, push this button and then this function button and then that. Especially in our laboratory business, all of our equipment operates the same way. So, in addition to the, enterprise-wide value in a lab, you can train your employees how to use one set of operator interfaces and they can work across the bench. So that's been another really a secret to our innovation over the last several years. And then we spend a lot of time in regulation. We are regulatory experts. Everything that we make, for the most part, has to be approved by a governing body before we can sell it. And then in return, we're experts on helping our customers understand how to manage through their regulation processes. And as I often tell them, you have to do all this work for regulatory requirements anyway. Instead of treating it like an administrative burden, why not leverage it as an opportunity to make your business better? Because all the data you need to comply is also data that can help you get better, save money, become more efficient, more profitable. I mentioned before, we're global. More than half of the people that we have in the company are in the front end. They're in sales, marketing, service, customer support on the phone, where our business is still a pretty local business. I mean, at the end of the day, the service component, the ability to come in and help people when they're having trouble is really, really important. And it's a business, we do quite a bit of business through online channels, through the internet, mostly with our channel partners and automating our transactions with them. We do have an e-store that people do buy from, but it's a fairly consultative application because we have a plethora of equipment, and knowing how to apply it properly to your problem takes interaction, and it's still mostly a face-to-face business. All of the investment in the last 6 years in the role I have today in North America, I've been consistently either investing or shifting resources from administrative functions forward, wherever I can, trying to find a way if we can automate something so I can move that headcount and that cost forward into some customer-facing attribute, because we still have hundreds of thousands of customers that we don't interact with as much as we'd like. So that's really been the secret to a lot of our growth. We have manufacturing here in the United States, manufacturing in Europe, manufacturing in Asia, a truly global supply chain. We were talking before we started, our Chinese factories opened back up today, so we're real excited about that. And I'm usually the one who complains about lead times, spending a lot of my time on the front end, but it's one of those times where I've actually been relieved that we have 6 weeks of inventory on the water. So, and we don't have anyone who's sick in our team, nor anyone who has a sick family member in our team in China. And we have several thousand people in China. So hopefully we'll have navigated through that successfully. We're a sustainable company in a lot of ways that, we're a little ahead of some of our American colleagues because we're dually headquartered in Zurich and here in Columbus. Our CFO and treasurer here in Columbus, our CEO, and a lot of division heads are in Zurich, Switzerland. And that's really the history of the company. Mettler Balance was founded by Dr. Mettler in Zurich and just after World War II. And Toledo Scale was founded in Toledo in 1902. And so it's been a good balance there, but we've had a lot of focus on green certifications for our plants, even in the late 90s, coming out of the awareness there in Europe. But we've really turned our sustainability program also into an employee engagement program as well, and really corporate governance. All of those kind of wrap together in how we do that program. We are well below all the compliance standards that we need to meet. We have a factory here in Columbus that paints big, heavy steel things, And we keep that paint booth down at about 10% of what are the allowable limits from the EPA in terms of emissions out of that paint booth. And that seems that, and we didn't do that just to be super green. We did that because if we have equipment that can perform at that level, then when occasionally, and it's usually a military customer, wants some really weird paint on something, we can still go, and that'll take us right to the legal limit, but now we have the capacity to handle that without it ruining our entire operation later. So there's a pragmatic value to that as well. We've been LED in all our plants for almost 15 years now. And in China, we operate to Western environmental standards. When we build a plant there, we operate our plants there. So I think I'm really proud of our track record there, and then we press that back into our supply chain as well. Service is a big component of what we do, and that's a huge part of that 8,000 people I told you that are out in the field every day. Half of my headcount is in service in the field, scattered across the U.S. and Canada, providing support to our customers every day. More and more of it proactive, planned maintenance, more and more of it providing maybe a kind of a birth certificate at installation, for lack of a better term, and then showing you, what's changed from that initial install. So we build it up as a fit for purpose installation around the application the customer wants. And then because of physics and the earth keeps spinning, most weighing devices in particular start drifting from day one. It's just the physics and the nature of the material that they're made of. We have compensation built into our systems, but we do more than just a simple calibration to be legal. We show people whether they're still at a 99% confidence level of that or not. And that's a lot of what our service folks are doing. So we help people plan for obsolescence, usually in advance. We can usually tell a year ahead of time if a device is about to, become more dangerous to their application. It's really all built, though, with a great team of people. I mentioned before, it's a people-intensive business, and so maybe my plug for Mettler Toledo here in Columbus, from a recruiting standpoint, tell your kids, tell your neighbors, tell your grandkids. It's a great place to work. Right here in Columbus, Ohio, we have engineers, we have marketing jobs, sales jobs, finance jobs, technical support, software, IT, really almost everything that you'd major in if you were going to go work for some commercial enterprise. We have those roles here. We have an early career experience for people right out of school, where we have 5 to 7 people each year, some from Ohio State, some from we're trying to branch within like a 5-hour drive of the region, where we give people in 3 and 6 months rotations for their first 2 years, a look around the company. They usually go spend 6 weeks in Switzerland as part of that. And those have actually been, if I look at my talent pool today, 70% of my high potential talent pool came out of this program over the last 15, 20 years. So it's a great program, and I encourage you to encourage them to look us up at mt.com. Pretty straightforward. And here I want to show you a little bit more about the company in a more exciting way than I did.
Hello there. How are you doing? May I show you the benefits of the new Easy Plus titrator? It's been developed by Swiss engineers, and just like Switzerland, it's...
Small?
Yes, it sure is a compact little thing. And it's...
Reliable?
Indeed. Reliable it is. It is also...
Solid?
True.
Precise?
Yes.
Multilingual?
Definitely.
And a bit boring.
Well...
A bit boring? Well, maybe so. But let's take a look at some of the ways Mettler Toledo impacts the world. From sea to sky, we help mankind push boundaries and set amazing records. 10 years ago, Hydropteer set the sailing speed record, thanks to the dedication and determination of her skipper and crew, and to the epoxy on the hull, which was formulated using Mettler Toledo analytical instruments. Driven by a vision of the future and a passion for innovation, Bertrand Piccard and Andre Borschberg accomplished something that still seems impossible today. The first round-the-world solar flight, powered only by the sun with no fuel or polluting emissions. Together with their partners, they want to show the power of pioneering spirit and clean technologies to bring solutions for a better world. The Solar Impulse was indeed the first plane to circle the world on solar power alone. But it wouldn't have been possible without Mettler Toledo's balances to help optimize the aerodynamics and stabilize the wings. We help feed the world, from salami to salad, baby food to beverages, even chocolate, cheese, and ice cream. Our products are used to make just about every kind of food you can imagine. Our bench scales, weigh modules, and truck scales, check weighers, metal detectors, and X-ray machines, filling applications like for these oysters, and quality data management, and products that span our lab and process portfolios. We are key to how food is produced, packaged, and made safe all over the world. We help keep you healthy. Mettler Toledo pipettes, precision balances, and analytical instruments are indispensable to researchers working to cure diseases and save lives. Our real-time microscopy applications allow scientists to see particles, crystals, and droplets directly as they arise. Our AutoChem products enable the analysis, scale-up, and manufacturing of life-saving drugs. And our inline process analytics measurement systems deliver accurate, real-time evaluation of process conditions. Put simply, we make it possible for scientists to develop new drugs and bring life-saving medicines to the world. We help save the world's precious resources. Researchers at the cutting edge of green research, like those inventing super-efficient batteries from recycled plastic bags, rely on our laboratory, analytical, and AutoChem products to help them deliver amazing new solutions. Semiconductor manufacturers use ultra-pure water with extremely low levels of contaminants. We offer comprehensive measurement capabilities that include parameters like resistivity, pH, dissolved oxygen, and more. Airline travel is one of the biggest sources of CO2 emissions. Making planes lighter and more fuel efficient contributes to a greener planet. Airplane manufacturers use our thermal analysis products to develop and test composite formulas and ensure optimal curing of epoxy resins in the most sophisticated composite materials. We improve the quality of life in countless other ways, whether it's interacting with the natural world, where our scales are used to weigh animals to help keep them healthy and happy, or enabling TV manufacturers to drive cutting-edge breakthroughs in display technology by using our microbalances to calibrate the dispensing of droplets on their screens. Mettler Toledo products are essential to the production and consistent quality of every kind of consumer product. No matter how far humankind goes to explore new frontiers, Mettler Toledo is there to help make it happen. Our balances and analytical instruments were used to measure the properties of samples taken from the moon. NASA uses our AutoChem products to optimize particle size and the propulsion rate of rockets. And our pipettes and analytical instruments allow researchers at the International Space Station to determine the impact of microgravity on human cells, allowing astronauts to stay safely in space. So while it's okay to say Mettler Toledo is reliable, solid, and precise, please don't call us boring. Together, we make up one great team with a truly global reach, creating amazing solutions that impact the world. And you make the difference. Precisely.
So we used that for an employee event a couple of years ago, and so I think that one of the other things we're good at, I think we're decent storytellers as well, so I give a lot of credit to our team that did that. So with that, if you're interested in more, it's a simple URL, mt.com. Quite a bit of things that we do. Been a fascinating journey for me in the 20 years there. I've had 3 different roles, visited almost 30 countries working for Mettler Toledo, and still never bored, occasionally frustrated, but never bored. And all of that's right here in your backyard. So thanks for your time, and I have time for questions.
About 4 or 5 years ago, the International Maritime Organization came out with a verifiable mass where for the rest of the people here, it's where they had to document container weights throughout the transit. Did that turn out to be a boon in sales, or kind of more sizzled and steak?
Not the boon in sales that our marketing team thought it was going to be, for sure, but there is a recent maritime law that now containers have to be validated and weighed when they come in through ports, which should be good for us. I think the reality is, in many cases, they were already being weighed for other reasons besides that law, at least here in North America. We have had some business out of that. We also make a weigh in motion system where you can weigh at like 8 miles an hour so that you don't have to stack up. One of the big things that happens with waste companies and ports and aggregate companies is that if you have to pull on, stop, weigh, validate, get a piece of paper and drive off, traffic builds up. And with the growth in the economy the last 7-8 years, that capacity is an issue. So we have had some business from that, but my guess is that most ports already had the ability to weigh all the containers anyway. Here's still hoping, I mean, a lot of that comes through the Port of LA now and the Port of Long Beach. So I know those are customers of ours, so I think they have had the capacity. There's a question here.
First of all, thank you. You happen to be one of our smaller customers, and I appreciate your business. But there's two international things.
Emphasis on small. Could be big.
Well, ours is more boring than yours. There's two international things that are affecting, we hear about a lot. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on policies and how it affects Mettler Toledo. One is China trade wars, the other one is Brexit.
But the question was the impact of the China trade war and the other on Brexit on our business. Now, first of all, I'm not our investor relations person, so I'm going to be real careful here. I would say we did publicly announce last week that combination of tariffs and currency, and I'm not sure we differentiated the two, and I know I can't because the report I have puts them together. Tariffs and currency have been a headwind on our earnings now. I think Q1 will be the fourth quarter with the tariff impact, but currency's been an impact on us probably since 2016. I mean, when the current administration came into place and the economic uncertainty happened, the dollar got stronger and the Swiss franc got stronger. And we make a lot of stuff in Switzerland and we make a lot of stuff here, and we're a public company in the US, so therefore everything gets translated to dollars. So when the dollar and the Swiss franc are both strong, then our EU revenues and our Southeast Asia revenues, for example, can look smaller. And if they buy stuff from those two countries, those costs look bigger. Coupled with tariffs, that has been an impact. We've still been able to grow earnings, but it's it's a couple of points, and it has been for the last year. On the Brexit side, I know my peer in the UK is frustrated because we're an international company and he's now competing locally. His administration and burden to bring things in and out. We have factories in the UK too, but not everything that he sells locally is made there. So his administrative burden has gotten much higher. I don't know, we're really, because we're really consumed ubiquitously across so many different industries, that the biggest hits to us are the same things that are hit to all of you and to your 401k. I mean, global economy strong, we're strong. Global economic weakness, we start getting concerned. I mean, we're going to outperform the market usually. We're going to outperform our competitors a little bit, but we can't outrun a recession if people start cutting back capital and those kind of things. So the impacts to our business have been more the regional impacts. So the EU's a little uncertain at the moment between U.S. trade policy and China, and maybe more importantly at the coronavirus at the moment. That all that uncertain, and it seems like anytime something's uncertain, Europe gets cold feet the quickest. But we've definitely seen it between tariffs and then the impact of trade policy on currency. We've seen that, and I would expect maybe the comparisons get a little bit better here if everything stays the same for a while. But we definitely saw that in the last year.
Do you still make consumer scales, residential scales, and if so, are they under your name or someone else's? Where can we get them?
We do not, and we have not. If you are in a health club I would bet at the OSU athletic facility. I know at Alabama's athletic facility, you'll see our stuff. If people want to be more precise, then they'll use our stuff. And I mean, actually, New Albany Country Club has Mettler Toledo scales in it. So if somebody wants a digital measure device, I mean, we have, all of our nerds would tell you how inaccurate anything those normal bathroom scales are. They're even not really made with a load cell. They actually have a pressure device in there. So, but anyway, it's hydraulics versus physics. But anyway, we don't, but you'll see us in health clubs. You'll see us in athletic departments. You'll see us sometimes in hospitals where somebody's taken basically an industrial scale and purposed it for that. And then you'll see us in pharmacies, especially hospital pharmacies, where our high precision balances are used to verify dosages. Because one of the number one causes of problems in a hospital is that, the manual creation of a dosage. So we have a lot of customers now that are OEM and even syringe filling with high precision accuracy, mostly to take the liability away in hospital pharmacies. Yes, sir.
How much do you spend on R&D, and what areas of focus would you be doing for the?
Our R&D spending, I won't get the number right. It is public. It would have been in it'll be in our last earnings announcement. We outspend most of our competition almost combined in that case, and we actually did well even back in 2009. But R&D spending in a couple of places. Software development is huge for us. The science around human-machine interfaces, so again, interacting with customers. A fair amount of R&D on Internet of Things type topics, connected devices activity, and then in our core applications, in the load cell, which is the kind of the weighing device, or in the sensors that measure UV over a chemical reaction over time to tell what's going on with heat. All of that, a lot of it in the core measurement practices itself. So it's pretty broad-based. We have our people that are specialists in the sensor side, and there are a variety of different sensors we use. But a lot of it in software. I would probably say half our R&D people are in some type of software, firmware, application-related activity.
Located here or in the?
Well, I'll give you it's a perfect example of most of our businesses. I ran the strategic business unit for the heavy weighing, which is all the things that weigh trucks and trains. It's here in Worthington at a plant off of Huntley Road. That plant was part of that business. We launched technology in 2009 while I was doing that job that's still the industry-leading technology today in the industry. And that R&D project, I would have people in my office from the US, people on the phone from China, people on the phone from Zurich. So we had expertise in all three geographies. It was part of that project at the time. Some of our businesses, we have one where most of the R&D is done in Columbia, Maryland, because that's where the people are. Some that are done primarily in Switzerland, some in Germany, one in Japan. But most of our core businesses have people in R&D in all three geographies.
Can you explain the artificial intelligence that you may be working on, or the influence of that on your industry and your business as we move forward?
We use more of it, artificial intelligence, or maybe, at least bot-related type topics as we look at data analysis, and when we're doing big data analysis and trying to target where we think opportunities are, what's going on in the industries that we serve. Because even at our size, we see our commercial impact on them is fairly small, and so we do a lot of studying of the industries that we serve, what they're doing. We have artificial intelligence, things that go out and look for data of people announcing new plants and investments and the things that are going on to try to create heat maps for our sales and marketing teams around the world in terms of what's going on by industry. We have something that you could call artificial intelligence related activities that manage this automated chemistry type application, but also in usually only really worth the money in pharmaceutical formulation, where you're taking a lot of different ingredients. That this will be kind of measurement geeky, but you have one thing where you want only a milligram of an active ingredient, because maybe that's the thing that actually really keeps you from feeling pain or helps cure what ails you. But then other elements that are part of what helps your body carry it to the right part in your body, and those need to attach. And so, but there you might need grams of that. And then you might even need a kilogram of water or whatever else is going on to make all that work. And those recipes and formulations, we can actually learn in process from what's happening with a valve or a dispenser to learn the properties, because no mechanical thing that's going to deposit like a grain of an active ingredient, no mechanical dispenser, no matter how well machined, is that going to interact exactly the same way over time. So they end up having a signature, and we learn about those signatures over time to then refine those processes so that ultimately your kids are taking a medicine that actually does exactly what the doctor thought it was going to do when it was prescribed, because everything's managed in accordance with the way the drug was qualified when it was made legal. So those are the things that we have in the market today. We're working on a lot of things within the industrial space where we just launched a product. We're launching a product this quarter that uses vision and weight together to help people that are in pick, pack, and ship applications, where we see tons of errors where you'll order a bunch of stuff but you get everything except the power cord, or you order a bunch of stuff and you get everything except for the connector that lets you do whatever it is you were setting out to do in the first place. And we can validate that with weight, that all those things are there. But the other thing is we can, with vision now, and it's kind of an AI-driven thing with vision, we can say, no, that was the connector for a Samsung phone, and you need a connector for an iPhone. Those are the bolts that fit on the model that's, twice as large and, whatever. And so a lot of visual verification of pick, pack, and ship operations. And I mean, even here in Columbus, there are a lot of people, where their last minute value add is that pick, pack, and ship of making the final kit for somebody and what they might be ordering, and a lot of source of error there. So again, those are some of the more, probably more computationally intensive and where we can have machine learning help make those operations better.
The way your stock's moved in the last 10 years, speak to the issue of a dividend or a stock split.
We are institutionally held primarily, so if you'll look, I guess since we just announced the end of the year, so that means the annual report and all that stuff will be out sometime between now and April. And we're held by primarily people with growth strategies and their funds, so we're considered a growth stock in that regard. They're not interested in us having a dividend. They're interested in us growing. We reinvest normally in terms of share buyback as opposed to a dividend. What we do in share buyback is very public, and we do it very consistently. The board authorizes an amount of money. Our treasurer staff sets out, divides that amount of money by the number of open market days in the year, and they basically go out and buy they buy back regardless of price, so they're dollar cost averaging through the whole time. So you can count on whatever they say they're going to do when they announce whatever the funding is for share buyback to be consistent. And that's really what we've done. And at least now I'm going to repeat what our former CFO told me, that the money it takes to split a stock, there's a ton of money that it takes to go through that administratively. And again, we're not selling to consumers and individuals when it comes to the capital market. So I think our view on that is there's no payback for that at all. And I guess Warren Buffett must be of a similar mind. I would be surprised if we ever do that. And the share repurchase that's our dividend. Basically, our shareholders, if they own X percent of the company today, they know that next year that percent will be larger because we'll take that share pool down.
Well, I doubt that we could have gotten a better picture of an international company that seems to really have it together. But what you're telling us is that you're really not interested in the individual investor.
I think we are serving our primary investors today, which are these large institutional holders, and I think an individual investor would have done quite well with us over the last 20 years. But we're not a dividend stock. I think we're a growth stock. We allocate capital to growth and expansion, and then the rest goes to share buyback.
Can you make any comment on the sensor difficulties that Boeing encountered with their airplane.
You know, though, I mean, I can appreciate it, but I'm really not that close to it. It's not really in our field. And, you know, having had to debug complex systems before, I had empathy for people that when they were describing all the things they were going through, for sure. And fortunately, there are very few things I'm involved with that are life and death for the people that are using them. But other than having had to deal with complex industrial systems before and knowing it can be difficult when you are trying to chase some ghost in the system, I don't know much more than what they've said publicly. There was one over here.
To what extent do you get into measurement other than weight, such as industrial layout equipment for dimensional accuracy or pressure measurements?
We measure dimension quite a bit, usually with laser-based technology. And so we do that quite a bit in the system I mentioned that can measure a pallet on a fork truck going through. It's actually weights and measure certified, so it's certified to be able to charge a dimensional freight weight on the fork truck in real time in motion. To me, it's very, very cool. But we measure, we have a lot of equipment in the lab. So if you're a chemist, you know, we're doing titration where you're getting properties of different chemical reactions. We measure density and refractometry in the lab. We have thermal analysis equipment that can characterize materials based on heat signature curves. And then in like a semiconductor plant, we're measuring dissolved oxygen, or in other chemical pipes, pH, turbidity, all of those kind of measures. So we have, you know, our stuff that works usually in the back of a food plant can detect metal, can detect bone, other foreign objects in food, actually a few biological things that we can detect. So I think we're about 45% weighing, but about 55% a whole lot of other things. pH being maybe the second biggest.
How much of your business is governmental, either U.S. or foreign?
You know, I doubt we'd make that public anyway, but it's a small share. I mean, it's a vital share, but most of our business is with, you know, large commercial companies in food, pharmaceutical, chemical, consumer products. Okay. I think we're good. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you all for bringing us up to date on a large Columbus area corporation that we knew too little about, so now at least know a little bit more now. And with that, thank you all for coming and joining us today.